Dory 1, this is Fire Team Delta. Dad's coming home.
Welcome to the Military Veteran Dad Podcast, where it is our mission to bring every dad home. I am your host, Ben Cloy. I'm a United States Marine veteran, husband, and a father. We will bring authentic conversations to inspire action in your life so we can close the gap between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. This is the Military Veteran Dad Podcast. Welcome back to Military Veteran Dad, Fatherhood Friday. As you know, my name is Ben Cloy, and Fatherhood Fridays are where I come on the microphone, share a story, share a perspective, share some piece of value that I hope will move the needle in your life to go into the weekend with the renewed sense that you are loved, you are appreciated, and the one thing that you really want in your heart the most is your family, and all you gotta do is receive their love every single day, and that is the process to coming home. And today I have a quote that I wrote down, I want to say a couple months ago in my log of Fatherhood Friday ideas. And something about today, with everything that's been going on in the world, felt the right quote to bring to you. And this quote comes from the book Becoming a King by Morgan Schneider. You might remember him. He was on the podcast a while back. Great episode, awesome book. I can't help but recommend it. It helped me find my way and have a conversation with God for the first time in 20 years, maybe over a decade. But to the quote. So I want you to think about this quote, and then I will unpack it a little bit and tell you what it means to me and why it's so important. Find like-hearted kings living in the same direction. Sign treaties. When they are at war, you are at war. Dan Allinger. That quote hit me right in the chest. Not because I wasn't living it, but it spoke so much truth in my life. I'll read it one more time. Find like-hearted kings living in the same direction. Sign treaties. When they are at war, you are at war. This quote symbolizes so much of what I talk about when it comes to friendships, when it comes to why you need people in your life. You can't do life alone. It's not that you can't do life alone. It becomes very difficult doing life alone. And what we don't realize when we serve, why we need even a tighter band of brothers than our military brothers and sisters to do life with, because we need people that when I'm at war, you're at war. Like you have that close of a blood relationship that they're going to lay down the gauntlet and go to war right beside you. No different than when the commander-in-chief says, we're going to war, that you lay it down without question because you pledge your faith to the country. Same idea here. And when you think about transitioning out of the military, this is one of the most critical roles to ensure a successful transition, a more powerful transition, and making sure that you land in a place of success that you actually desire. So many people, including myself, I transitioned out with the basics of get a job, get a paycheck coming in because your paycheck just straight up. That will lead you to where you wanted to go. 10 years later, that did not lead me to where I wanted to go. It just left a broken man that didn't know how to step into his own life. Had I had this, had I had like-hearted kings in my life that I signed treaties with, to do life with, to declare that when I'm struggling, we're all struggling, and when another brother is struggling, I'm struggling. Think of even just the suicide rate within the community if we each had like-hearted kings of people that believe and trust in what we believe and are ready to go to battle with us. I mean, gosh, that's just saying it gets me excited, because that is the core of military transition. Knowing that you have like-hearted kings, you are moving in the same direction, and you know that you've signed treaties, and when you're at war, I'm at war. Because what I could tell you talking to so many dads out there, they feel they're at war. The big problem is it's a solo war. They're either fighting a war on multiple fronts. They're fighting a war with their spouse, maybe. They're fighting on a war with their kids. They're fighting a war with their mind. They're fighting a war with their coworkers, their company, wherever they work. And they feel like they're doing it all alone. And they literally feel like the walls are getting tighter because all the fronts are getting closer and closer, because you're not meant to do all of that on your own. And many of those aren't meant to be wars. We frame them as wars because that's kind of how our brain works, and especially as military men, that's what we think about. But I want you to fully think and really breathe in this quote. Breathe it into your heart. Breathe it into your mind. Think about who in my life do I even have like-hearted kings, people that are living a life that I desire. Sometimes it may be the person ahead of me that is living the life that I desire, and I want to be like that person or have a life very similar to that person. Find people like that. Sign treaties so that when you are at war, they are at war. And I'm telling you, I just had another conversation with a podcast interview that'll be coming out here in the month of February, and we spent a lot of time talking about what holds us back from doing this. There is so much garbage inside of our head that tells us why all these ideas won't work, why we can't find like-hearted kings, why we can't sign a treaty, why we can't declare war and have someone beside us helping us through that so we're not fighting this on our own. There is so much garbage inside your head that tells you that none of that can be possible because you're meant to do it alone. That's how you've always done it. That's how your dad done it. That's how generations have done it. But generations have not done it. It's only the recent generations that decided to adopt this idea that we're meant to do life alone. For millennia, men did life together. And it's that togetherness that allowed us to move forward and grow as a society, as a humanity. And it's part of what we're missing now is that men are not finding their tribe, finding their place to grow together. And it's one of the reasons why I think podcasting also is so successful is because in some ways, if you are geographically disconnected from, say, your tribe and you feel like there's not a lot of people around you, I know that was probably the case for me when I first started listening to dad podcasts 5 years ago. I felt when I was listening to this podcast, these were the guys I could do life with. And when I first signed up for the Dad's Edge Mastermind, it was exactly that feeling. These were people that when I was at war, they were at war. And if I was having struggle, 15 people would jump out of the Facebook group, message me and being like, what can I do to help? That type of feeling can feel relief. It can feel amazing. And then it can feel very empowering because even when you do get a chance to meet these men in person, the connection is already there and you just get to strengthen a brotherhood. I know that was the case for me and Dan Zahner when I was actually reminded about our trip that I did with him in the summer into the woods today. All of that is just like this. And ironically, we listened to Becoming a King when I was on that trip as well. Find like-hearted kings living in the same direction. Sign treaties. When they are at war, you are at war. Let that be your transition mantra. Because if you have a team around you, everything becomes possible. Everything can become possible if you have a team around you to move the needle forward, to fight those battles. And so, final message, find your tribe. Find people living in the same direction. Because dads, we are not meant to do this alone. I can't tell you how many times I talk to a dad who thinks he can do it alone. I always try to open them up to there's so much power on the other side of hello. And with that, I'll sign off. I will talk to you guys again on Monday. I hope, as always, you have an amazing weekend. I'm actually going for a field trip as a dad. The kids are done with virtual. I'm going to a field trip to record a in-person podcast interview for the Frag Out podcast. Ecstatic about it because, one, I've never recorded an in-person podcast interview with someone else in a studio. And two, it's 2 hours away in northern Wisconsin up in Appleton, and I'm just excited to get away on my own accord, have 2 hours of podcasting time to listen to. I don't get that anymore. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'll share some stories with you on Monday, hopefully, or if not, next Friday. But guys, have an amazing weekend. Know you are loved, appreciated, and thank you for listening to this episode.